Welcome to Gilli Pong analysis. Now we are in chapter 5 of How to Lie with Statistics by Darrell Huff. Let's just continue. Chapter 5, the Gee Whiz Graph. A picture of a graph that goes to the clouds. Oh, still in the zoomer here. Let me go back. So here, like this. Okay. There is terror in numbers. Humpty Dumpty's confidence in telling Alice that he was master of the words he used would not be extended by many people to numbers. Perhaps we suffer from a trauma induced by grade school arithmetic. Whatever the cause, it creates a real problem for the writer who yearns to be read, the advertising man who expects his copy to sell goods, the publisher who wants his books and magazines to be popular. When numbers in tabular form are taboo and words will not do the work well, as is often the case, there is one answer left: draw a picture. About the simplest kind of statistical picture or graph is the line variety. It is very useful for showing trends, something practically everybody is interested in showing or knowing about or spotting or deploring or forecasting. We'll let our graph show how national income increased 10% in a year. Begin with paper ruled into squares, name the months along the bottom, indicate billions of dollars up the side, plot your points and draw your line, and your graph will look like this. Now, that's clear enough. It shows what happened during the year, and it shows it month by month. He who runs may see and understand, because the whole graph is in proportion, and there is a zero line at the bottom for comparison. Your 10% looks like 10%, an upward trend that is substantial, but perhaps not overwhelming. That is very well if all you want to do is convey information. But suppose you wish to win an argument, shock a reader, move him into action, sell him something. For that, this chart lacks smalts. Chop off the bottom. Now, that's more like it. You've saved paper, too. Something to point out, if any carping fellow object to your misleading graphics. The figures are the same, and so is the curve. It is the same graph. Nothing has been falsified except the impression that it gives. But what the hasty reader sees now is a national income line that has climbed halfway up the paper in 12 months. All because most of the chart isn't there anymore. Like the missing parts of speech and sentences that you met in grammar classes. It is understood, of course. The eye doesn't understand what isn't there, and a small rise has become visually a big one. Now that you have practiced to deceive, why stop with truncating? You have a further trick available that's worth a dozen of that. It will make your modest rise of 10% look livelier than 100% is entitled to look. Simply change the proportion between the ordinate and the abscissa. There is no rule against it, and it does give your graph a prettier shape. All you have to do is let each mark up the side stand for only 1/10 as many dollars as before. Now you see how it goes up. That's impressive, isn't it? Anyone looking at it can just feel prosperity throbbing in the arteries of the country. It is a subtler equivalent of editing national income rose 10% into climbed a whopping 10%. It is vastly more effective, however, because it contains no adjectives or adverbs to spoil the illusion of objectivity. There's nothing anyone can pin on you. And you are good, and you're in good, or at least respectable, company. Newsweek magazine used this method to show that stocks hit a 21-year high in 1951, truncating the graph at the 80 mark. A Columbia Gas System advertisement in Time in 1952 reproduced a chart from our new annual report. If you read the little numbers and analyze them, you found that during a 10-year period, living costs went up about 60%, and the cost of gas dropped 4%. This is a favorable picture, but it apparently was not favorable enough for Columbia Gas. They chopped off their chart at 90%, with no gap or other indication to warn you, so that this was what your eye told you. Living costs have more than tripled, and gas has gone down 1/3. Steel companies have used similar misleading graphic methods in attempts to line up public opinion against wage increases. Yet the method is far from new, and its impropriety was shown up long ago, not just in technical publications for statisticians either. Any editorial writer in Dunn's Review in 1938 reproduced a chart from an advertisement advocating advertising in Washington, D.C. The argument being nicely expressed in the headline over the chart: government payrolls. Government payrolls up. The line in the graph went along with the exclamation point, even though the figures behind it did not. What they showed was an increase from about $90.5 million to $20.2 million. But the red line shot from near the bottom of the graph clear to the top, making an increase of under 4% look like more than 400. The magazine gave its own graphic version of the same figures alongside an honest red line that rose for just 4% under its caption, "Government Payrolls Stable." Yeah. Collier has used this same treatment with a bar chart in newspaper advertisements. Note especially that the middle of the chart has been cut out. First 9 months 1952, last quarter 1952, first quarter 1953. From an April 24, 1953 newspaper advertisement for Collier's paper advertisement. Yeah. Okay. From an April 24, 1953 newspaper advertisement for Collier's. This has been Chapter 5 of How to Lie with Statistics. Have the most beautiful present moment. And remember, it's time to shine. So, let's glow! Gilli Pong! Analysis.